Welcome back. Today I thought we'd have a bit of a look at the diff in the back of my PT Cruiser. Just in case people aren't aware, a PT Cruiser is actually a front wheel drive vehicle. So fitting a diff in the back of one of these is no mean feat. So as much as the diff was in before, now I have completed yesterday the spring fitment and the shocker fitment. So, let's have a bit of a look at that. So, with a little bit of modification, I've actually utilised the factory PT shocker mount and, believe it or not, the factory PT shocker. That's the rear spring. That is the factory PT spring, albeit cut down. This is only for fitting purposes. Of course, I will get new springs made. So yeah, that's why there's two springs so close together that have been welded. But it is mounted, it is sitting in the correct position, ride height. It's very good. So, under the back, I'll try and give you a bit of a look at the chassis that I made. It's a bit hard, but over there you can see the top panhard rod, some of the chassis that I've made. That chassis, it's basically I've welded in the chassis. Oh, hang on. That goes across and joins. It's basically a frame front to back that the diff is mounted on. Over there you can see that there's the original PT mount that I've used that mounts the diff. Yeah, that's the factory Volvo arm, that's a factory PT front mount. So all I basically did, it's a bit hard to see there, is moved it inboard a little bit from where it was. It's actually in the correct position to what it was. Factory position that puts the diff in exactly the same spot. If you're interested, this is a Volvo diff. Yeah, factory panhard rod. I actually modified the panhard rod just a little bit, of course. That there I'm going to make a correct adjustable panhard rod. That's my mount. It's all braced up against the chassis on that side, braced against the other side you can't see. Very, very strong. So it's all using factory components where I can. I'm a bit of a cheapskate. I do like to use factory things when I can, only because if I decide that it's going to break, it is easier to buy replacements. So the diff is all factory Volvo. It's a standard width. Very strange. It fitted better than I had anticipated. The only thing, of course, I've got to do is stud pattern is something that I have to deal with a little bit, because now I'm going to have a Volvo stud pattern on the back, Chrysler stud pattern on the front. But, oh well. Now, the only other issue I'm going to run, because I want to try and keep this car, or get it factory or registered, ABS is an issue. So, to that end, Volvos don't have ABS on the 2 Series diff. Unfortunately, it was never here. In the States it may be there, but we never had it here. So I'm going to have to try and adapt the factory Chrysler PT ABS to the Volvo diff. That's the passenger side. Again, factory modification a little bit. So that's going to be my next task. But this is just a bit of an update on the diff. Again, thank you to all the people that are taking a bit of an interest. It's not everybody's cup of tea. But as with most builds, It's not here to please everybody, it's here to please me. As it should be here to please the person that's doing it. What else? So the diff of course takes up the place where the factory fuel tank is. So at the back behind the factory tank, which would have been that brace there, forward of that is the tank, back of this is where the spare wheel goes. This area of my vehicle is now going to be housing the fuel tank. That's the next thing I have to sort of deal with at the moment. So it's getting there. All these things take time. It's an interesting thing. You do one thing, it creates a problem with another thing. That's the tunnel, which is factory there, but it normally houses the exhaust. I've just opened it up a little bit so that I could run a tail shaft. Tail shaft is something I'm going to run a factory Volvo tail shaft, because that way it has movement. The factory Falcon tail diff is solid mounted in the back of the vehicle, so they don't really allow for movement of the tail shaft in and out. What else? Not much has changed in here really. It's getting there, slowly, slowly. Thank you again. I hope you enjoyed this bit of an update. Have a good week.